I have a returning guest on the show today that I am so excited about. Today, we're going to hear again from Jenna Michael. Jenna is a wife, mother, author, and a coach specializing in simplified and intentional living for families. Her writing covers topics such as family-friendly activities and events, wellness, travel, gifts, and essential parenting tips. Her coaching helps moms turn these valuable insights into practical action, reduce clutter and chaos, and ultimately pursue a life of purpose on purpose. In her free time, you can find her at the gym, curled up with a book, or enjoying the outdoors. Her book that we talk about, Let's Choose Less, I am so excited about. I would love for you to get it. During the conversation, we did not know the launch date, but the date is March 10th. So you have a few days to go over to Amazon or wherever you buy books and grab that book. It's going to be an amazing resource for either you or those other young moms in your life. Also, we talk a lot about doing hard things. And if that scares you a little bit, then I really want you to listen in because there is such a message here that's not only going to serve you, but also your children. And we know we want to love our children well and intentionally. So Jenna and I are all about intentionality. And so let's love our kids intentionally well. And we're going to talk how you can do that very simply by doing hard things. Speaking of hard things, have you taken the step into the Bold Blueprint yet? Now, what is the Bold Blueprint? A 6-month group coaching program that is going to help you learn how to reduce your stress and reclaim the time in your life that stress is stealing. Your stress, your constant stress and overwhelm, thought pattern and mental fatigue, confusion and frustration is stealing your time. And then when you can learn how to reduce that stress with practical tools and strategies that I use myself and that God gave me as a blueprint, then you can find more time in your day, energy, and purpose to live a holistically well life. I know you want that. I know you want to be done with survival of motherhood. So let's thrive instead and live on purpose with the God-given identity that is inside of you. Go right now to www.theshanwright.com/bold. I would love to see you on the inside, and your future self would too. Okay, let's get on with this amazing conversation. Hey mama, are you overwhelmed by your full, blessed life? Do you feel stuck in the messy, mundane middle? Then I'm so glad you're here to take a breath. Hey, I'm Shan Wright, RN, holistic wellness coach, and a mom to 4 that went from perfectionism, control, and lots of anxiety to intentionally living through simple solutions and so much peace. If you are done with the stressed out life, hot mess express type of motherhood, then heat up that coffee again and let's live holistically well in the middle. Let's go. All right, I am so excited to have Jenna Michael back on the show. She has been on episode 105 and episode 125, and this will be her 3rd episode. So Jenna, welcome back.
Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be back. This is fun.
Yes, I love talking with you. Okay, so last time we did 2 episodes because one was in the Facebook group all about Christmas gifts. But the episode that we had where we talked about your book was really why we started our conversation, because you just are launching a book that you wrote. And so we are definitely going to be talking about that. But first, follow you on Instagram and all the places you are out in social media. I've noticed you've been sharing a lot of good stuff there. And so I was looking at this video this reel, I guess, that you shared about doing hard things. And I talk about this a lot because I'm all about taking courage and bold steps. And a lot of times that means it's hard. It's really hard. So you mentioned in that post about letting your kids see it. So I want you to talk about, why is this important that we let our kids take part and even see the hard things that we do in life?
Ooh, okay. This is such a fun topic to talk about because I think as moms, we're so good at segmenting our personal goals away from where our mom goals are, right? Like mom us versus us as a person get completely separated when we have babies at times, right? Like Think about when you save all of your chores for nap time, or you save your workout for nap time, or you save something that happens when the kids are asleep or they're at school, and the kids miss really valuable foundational opportunities to be able to see their parents doing things other than being just mom or being just dad. And so this started because my husband loves to run this long distance relay in the mountains with his friends. It's a 208-mile race that they run as a relay over the course of 2 days. And the first time that he did it, I was so bummed that we were missing watching him do it, that the next year that he did it, I packed up all the kids and we drove all over the mountains and watched him run up and down mountains with his friends. And I did it because I was disappointed because I wasn't watching him do it. But what I didn't realize was that my kids also wanted to watch him do it. And so it's become a kind of family tradition for us to watch the other parent do something hard. And for us, a lot of times that involves running and races and other things. Like I just ran a race and did a polar plunge and the kids were there to watch. And it was so hard. It was so hard. But I was so glad that they watched it, because if they don't see those things, how are they going to be brave and take chances and be courageous to do things on their own? If we tell them to be brave, they're not going to believe it because they don't see us doing it as well. So being able to put ourselves into some of these challenges and also involve our kids makes it just a more fruitful accomplishment all around for everybody in the family.
Yes, fruitful as in they start doing those things too, and it comes forth in their life. That reminds me of when God first told me that I was not shy, which I thought that I was, or was told I was my whole life, that I wasn't shy, but I was actually bold and courageous. I was made aware of a book called 100 Days to Brave, and the author was coming out with 100 Days to Brave for kids. And so she was even encouraging you to do it with your kids. And I was like, and she's not a mom herself, but she has a lot of little people in her life. And I was like, that is brilliant, because not only have I been calling myself shy, but I've been calling my kids shy as well, because they were just like me and they are a lot like me. I don't want to call them that. I don't want to put that label on them, just as I didn't want the label on me. And so I said, girls, we're going to be brave 100 days together. And we had to do it together. Like the activities that she had you do in the book, it was so much better doing it together. And not only did you want to, but it was like, it made it such a better experience. It made it more memorable. It gave you more confidence, because every step of courage equals more confidence. So it gave us, oh my gosh, it was a great experience. So moms out there, 100 Days to Brave for kids. I recommend you doing it with your kids. But I love that. And I love that you and your husband create these opportunities for your kids to be involved in it and to see it. Example, cold plunging.
Yeah.
You just did a polar plunge. That is hard. It's really, really hard. And I do it in my bath time. I do it in my bathtub sometimes. If they can even get involved in seeing you do that, it's like, oh, mom, why are you doing that hard thing? That looks really hard. It's like, well, because when we build up our hard muscles, then we can do the next thing that's hard and the next thing that's hard. And actually, if you start your day like that, everything else seems easy.
Mm-hmm.
You
I mean,
get in
how
the cold
often,
water.
yeah. And how often do we tell our kids in certain situations, like, it's okay, honey, just be brave.
Mm-hmm,
And,
mm-hmm.
and when you think about it, do they really know what that looks like? Do they know
Right.
what being brave looks like? Okay, I'm going to try, but I don't know, because I haven't seen an example of what bravery looks like. Well,
Yeah.
in our house, bravery looks like doing something really hard. And we talk about
Yeah.
that a lot. We can do hard things. We can do hard things together. And when you set that example, because kids learn by seeing other people do
Mm-hmm.
things, it helps give them the tools to be able to move forward with those skills. Even something like public speaking. I have a kiddo that's really scared to talk in front of kids or in front of other people.
Yeah.
And when she can see me talk in front of other people, she knows that she also can do it. And so,
Absolutely.
you just you got to be the example.
Yeah. When we were doing that book, it also just put that language in my mouth to be like, when they did the activity that was supposed to be a brave activity, sometimes it didn't look like a brave thing. It was like, oh, that's just like life. That's just normal. But I was like, no, that's actually so good to encourage them when they do that activity to say, that was really brave. That is actually what bravery looks like. Because sometimes we put it down and we're like, oh, that's not being brave. That's just doing, part of life. And it's like, no, like you were saying, they don't know what bravery looks like. And to them, that is a really brave thing to do. And they need to be encouraged and even praised for taking those bold steps. And then they take the next one and the next one. So that is so good.
I love that. The other thing too is that everybody's hard looks different from everybody else's, right? So what might be hard for me might not be hard for one of my kids, or what might be hard for one of my kids, like my one child that's afraid to talk in front of other people, walking up to a stranger and introducing themselves is a really terrible thing. But if I can set that example, like to me, I'm a friendly person. I'll go up and I'll meet people in the grocery store line and have a whole conversation and be best friends and move on with life, right? But to her, that is a really scary thing to do. So if I can show her that I can do this, you can do it too, here's how we do it, it makes it easier for her to be able to do in the future. But it doesn't seem like it's scary to me.
Exactly. That's why I would just say to my child who's just like that, I would say, you're just saying hi. You don't even have to say more words. Just say hi. It's so easy. And I would get a little, previously, I would get a little frustrated, like just open your mouth and be respectful and kind and say hi. And then I switched it to be more empathetic and say, yeah, this can seem hard to talk to a stranger, and it's okay. You actually can do hard things. You're brave. So you can say hi and watch. Mommy will do it. Next time we see someone, I'll do it. And then you can see how it's done. It's like, yeah, having that empathy and being like, oh yeah, I'm their parent. I'm supposed to teach them this.
Yeah, exactly. So doing hard things in front of your kids, it's really, really important.
I love it. I don't know if I would be as bold and courageous and doing hard things if it wasn't that I became a mom. But when you have kids, you see the things in them that you want them to be, and you're like, I want you to be who you are and who God made you to be. And I see all these things, and it's not shy into your isolated into yourself. So anyway, what are some things that we should be doing first besides just, saying hi to people in public? But what are some other things that we should be doing on purpose, as you like to say? You like to call your whole Instagram handle is purposeful parenting. What are other things that we should be doing on purpose, intentional, to exemplify to our kids so that they then do the same thing?
Man. Okay. The first thing that I would say is purposefully showing them your faith, right? Being open about it. So my Bible study every morning almost always includes a child of some kind.
Yeah.
Somebody's usually crawling on my lap. Somebody's usually asking for breakfast. It's like, no, honey, this is mommy's time for Bible study. Then we'll have breakfast. So I would say a big thing for me is not keeping the really important things for myself and showing them to them, particularly my faith. I would say another thing would be, I think it is really hard in today's society to not become a husband bashing or kid hating person when you're relating to other moms. Yeah. Like culture right now, that's some of the first places that moms go to relate to themselves, right? You meet a mom at the park, and they're probably going to be complaining about a particular stage of a particular age of child. And that is something that I try really hard not to do, because no matter whether you think that they can hear you or not, they probably can hear you, because kids are very good listeners. And so I think that it's really bold and brave in today's society to not speak unkindly about my husband, or to not speak unkindly about my children, particularly in front of them or to other people. I think that's a really hard thing to do, which seems so silly to say out loud, because no, of course you don't talk bad about your husband, but a lot of people do. That's how people relate to each other.
I think another part of that is, I'm going to interrupt myself to share a product that has decreased my stress and saved me time. My OG, my number one for fat loss, that 100% expedited my postpartum 30-pound transformation. It's truly liquid gold. Just 1 tablespoon each morning is helping to inhibit fat storage, shrink fat cells, develop lean muscles, support fat metabolism, restore youthful skin, support joints, muscle, connective tissue, support healthy hair, nails, gums, eyes, has 0 sugar, decadent flavors to choose from, and that is a lot in 1 tablespoon. Add it to a sensible diet for best results. Take it alone or amp up your results with supportive products. Grab a $20 to $50 coupon code in the show notes. It is time to stop stressing about your body and take an intentional tablespoon to change it all. Here's to the kitchen sink of physical wellness, mama. Even if they don't hear you, those words are out in the world.
Yes.
Those words have been said, and words are so powerful. The Bible doesn't say words are powerful and they bring life or death only if the other person hears them. It's just they do. That is the power that words have. They bring life and they bring death. They just have so much power.
They do. I think the other thing too is that women are really good at putting themselves down. And I think it's really brave to talk positive about yourself,
Ooh,
especially in front of your kids. Like, how often do you catch yourself looking in the mirror and there's other sets of eyes that are also looking at you? And do you say like, man, I'm so beautiful. Like, wow, look at the amazing, amazing body that God gifted me to be able to grow and create human life. Like, when do you talk yourself up in front of your kids? Because that is not something that I think comes as first nature to a lot of people right now. But if you go first, how cool is it then if you watch your kid being like, hey, I have really cool eyes, or my hair is really special. And like they latch on to that idea. And then they're going to talk positively about themselves and just fostering that positivity around your physical body as well.
That's so good, because usually we just go to other people for those affirmations and those validations, and they don't come. And then there we are. There our insecurities are, and they're built and they're forming because I was seeking out for someone to tell me that I looked really good today and no one did. So I'm teaching my kids, like, you just have to get that from someone else. Like, daddy really needs to tell me that I look pretty today, or I'm not going to feel it. But when you do it to yourself, that's teaching them. And that just put a light bulb in my head, because my one child, I can actually see it. I can see her look in the mirror and see the lies start and the face change and I can just see the wheels turning of this negative soundtrack. And I wrote on her mirror, I am a beautiful child of God. Real big. You can't miss it. So actually, when she looks in the mirror, that's what she sees. But it takes it up a level when you actually speak the words out loud. It's not natural to do it.
Right. It should be normal to build yourself up, not to break yourself down. And in so many of these situations, kids learn from the examples around them. And that to me is a very important and impactful way that we can make a big difference in a child's life. And it really doesn't take that much effort, right? Like, just look in the mirror and be like, hey, looking good today. Like, you look good. You're doing a great job. And then move on, you know? And I think that a lot of times, oh gosh, what was it? So a friend of mine gave me fabulous advice. He said, if you want to know your child's inner voice, listen to how you talk to them. And I thought that was so like, whoa. And so often I think and see like the wheels turning, and I'll be like, I hear my negative voice inside her brain right now. Like, how can I turn the volume down on that negative voice and boost the volume on the positivity, right? Like over and over again, all those reactions, like I have to choose purposely over and over and over again to come from an attitude of gratitude, to opt for using grace and mercy instead of harshness, right? And that is so hard and exhausting, right? Of course, at the end of a long day, I want to just be like, oh, and it takes so much effort. But at the same time, I don't want my child's inner voice to be my negative voice inside of her brain or his.
Yeah, that is really good and really thought-provoking. I think it's also the enemy. He comes in and he speaks lies all the time. And so again, like that daughter looking in the mirror and thinking all these negative things, and I can just see it happening. I went to prayer to God and I was like, I was so frustrated because I was like, how can I get her to stop believing these lies? How can I get her to change and understand that that is all lies. It's nothing, no truth. And he showed me a rhema. It was a verse. It was beautiful. Like the word was beautiful. It was in this verse about the gate called Beautiful that the lepers were next to, but it was beautiful. And he said the gate was called Beautiful. And he said, you call her beautiful because she is. Actually, her name means beautiful one. And she is beautiful inside and out, as our kids are. And so he said, you have to call her that. You have to speak to her like she's beautiful. You have to compliment her. Like exactly what you're saying. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have to give her that voice, give her those good things that she can then put in her head and say about herself. But she has to hear it over and over. And he also told me the enemy's not quitting. He's relentless. So you be relentless. You say it over and over because you can't just say it once and expect it to stick. Our kids love repetition. So I think that goes both ways. I think I was so hard on myself as a young mom, like, oh my gosh, I did such a bad job today, and go to sleep, like go to bed, like all guilty. And I remember telling a more seasoned mom that, and she said, you know what? Kids really, they love repetition and consistency. If you're not consistently messing up and screaming at them, I think you're okay. Like, don't be so hard on yourself. Kids love when you do things over and over. But that goes the same. So that took away some mom guilt, but it also goes the same way for the other way. Don't just do something one time and expect it to stick and for them to remember that. How often do we forget? Like tell them over and over, like that they're beautiful, that they're amazing, and that they are so kind, and that they're a good helper, and like just compliment them and be that good voice in their head. I love that. Okay. You do a lot of hard things, not only polar plunging and running crazy races, but you also wrote an amazing book.
Ooh.
And publishing, from what I hear, is no easy feat. And it's also very challenging and hard. And I'm sure your kids watched you go through that whole process. Share with us a little bit about that process. How did you overcome the challenge of getting your book published? Because I hear from a lot of first-time authors, like they just published it themselves. Like there was hoops they had to jump through, and they just did it a certain way. And so, how did you overcome this challenge? And did you even see it like a challenge? And what did you learn through the whole process? I know that's a few questions, but share with us.
No, those are really good questions. I have learned so much on this journey. I've learned so much. I think one thing, so yes, I wrote a book. It's coming out very soon. I'm self-publishing it.
Okay.
I started writing a book because God told me to, and I didn't want to. And that was almost 2 years ago. It was a solid year and a half ago. And the process has been a huge learning curve. I thought you just open up a Word document and write a book on your computer, and then, send it to a publisher, and then they just print it, and that's it. And there's so many things that go into it. There's so much that goes into the process. There's a ton of people that are involved. And then you layer in the challenges of the fact that I am a stay-at-home homeschooling mom of 4 children and trying to, also be that role as well. And one thing that I learned is that I see exactly how and why people have this as their full-time job, and then some, and a whole team to be able to do it. It has been a huge lesson in making choices for me and being very purposeful in my priorities, which is funny because it's literally what I wrote the book about. And I've been having to take my own advice on it and be very meticulous in what my decisions are, how I go about the process, because you can get really lost in it. It's really easy to just kind of get swept away in all of it. I would say a big learning curve has been finding time to write, finding freedom in the guilt that I feel when I don't do as much as I feel like I should be doing in order to be able to get this book published and out in the world. Oh, if I just did this and it was faster, or, if somebody didn't get sick, then I would have been able to get to that sooner, or whatever it is, like letting go of a lot of that guilt, because it can really add up. And I have learned to ask for help in uncomfortable circumstances, because there are a lot of aspects of this that I have not been able to do on my own. And so asking for help has been a big lesson for me too.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I did not know you were self-publishing. So in that, how do you decide that? What does that choice look like?
Okay, so I listened to a podcast recently, and it was with this guy and this expert in nonfiction book publishing. And he said that there are approximately 500,000 books published every year, which is a lot of books. And with that, that means that when you're going to find a publisher, publishers are just inundated with requests. And I started querying last summer with some of my drafts from my book for publishers. And I am still hearing back currently, like 8 months later, for some of the responses that I sent out last summer. It takes years and years and years to be able to establish a relationship with a literary agent, find a publisher that suits you. And if I'm being honest, I felt like this was a tool that I wanted to be able to get into the world sooner than several years down the road.
Yeah.
And so I decided to go the route of self-publishing for a lot of different reasons. I also struggled with, in today's day and age, trying to find a publisher that I could align myself with that shared values that are also mine, because I think that the book that I have written and put out and am putting out into the world represents a lot of my own value system. It talks about values. It talks about who I am. It talks about what's important to me. And so I was struggling with the idea of just getting on board with somebody that did not share the same value system at that point. And so what I decided was what the best way that I could represent myself authentically was to represent myself. And so that's how I kind of came about with self-publishing. I'm open to doing a relationship with a publisher in the future. I'm excited to see what comes of it. I plan to write other books. But for right now, I just felt like this was the best path forward.
Yeah. Well, that's a hard decision and that's a courageous decision. So good for you. Yeah. Share a little bit. We did talk more in depth about the book in episode 105, but share with us again, the title of the book, what you hope readers take away from it when they read it, and like how it connects, like you just said, it shares a lot of your values, how it connects to your personal journey and your story.
Yeah. So it's called Let's Choose Less. It's a young family's guide to simply living. And it starts with me writing in my closet. And I tell the moms, I'm like, spill milk on the pages, dog ear the pages, circle them, take it to book club, like read it with your friends, pick it up and then put it down and then pick it up again. Like it was written by a real mom in real time. And so just relating to moms and sharing, like I wrote it in my closet because that was where my introduction was, where I had the opportunity to be able to do it that day. And then I go into talking about how my journey of meeting my husband, my dreams of becoming a mom, how I felt like I was so prepared for motherhood. I really honestly just to my core was like, I am ready. I am called to be a mom. I am ready. And we had our first baby and I felt like I was taken by surprise in a lot of ways. Like, well, hang on a minute. I did all my homework and I read all of the books and I know that this is a natural process, but why is this so overwhelming? Why is this so challenging for me? This is supposed to be the most natural, beautiful thing in the world to me. And what I was finding was that a lot of the advice that I had received and a lot of the resources that I were using told me about all of the things that I needed to be prepared for, but nobody prepared me for the decision making. Nobody prepared me for how many choices you make on a daily basis as a parent, right? Yeah. Like, should I get out the green plate or the red plate? I don't know. Well, he likes the green plate, but the red plate he liked yesterday. And like those are a lot of decisions and they add up. And so nobody prepared me for that. And the way that I determined how some decisions can be made easier as a parent is by looking at value systems and deciding, okay, these are the things that are really important to us as a family. This is our family's mission statement. This is how that translates to our clothes in our closet, to our finances, to our calendar, to the toys that we have, the way that we structure our playroom, the way that we make decisions as a family. And so the next subsequent chapters all go through the process for how I did that, and some tools to be able to maybe encourage other families to do it. And then I start going through age groups. So I start at pregnancy and I talk about the essential baby registry. What are things that are really, really important to have when you have a baby? What are things that are really nice to have when you have a baby? Because you don't always need everything that the internet tells you you need for a baby. You need a few things. There are some vital things, but being able to sift through a lot of the information. And then we go on to talk about 1-year-olds and 2-year-olds all the way up to 5-year-olds. What goes into a capsule wardrobe for a 3-year-old, or what should you buy for a 4-year-old for their birthday present? And then at the end, we talk about traveling, and then we talk about gift giving, because those are two huge subjects that I feel like absorb a lot of mom's energy outside of like the active parenting that they're doing. It's like, okay, we're going to the beach. What are we going to pack? I don't know. I've never traveled with a baby before. And so being able to take some of those things and just make them a little bit easier to digest.
Yes, I love it. And I'm so excited for you to get it out. That just sounds like an amazing resource. Like you said, something that you can just carry around and have it with you for all your different kids' ages and stages and all the things. It's so funny because that just made me think the last thing you said about the vacation. I just took my 4 kids to Disney with my whole family. And I was talking to another mom and she was like, like, what are you packing? And do you have everything, like matching outfits and everything? And I'm like, it was the day before. And I was like, I still have 5 people to pack tonight. I haven't even started. I'm just putting in just whatever Disney shirt they have. And it was so funny because I was like, oh yeah, the first time we went to Disney, it looked a little different. I did have all the outfits coordinated. I had the hair things, I had the bows and all this stuff. And it was like, it doesn't even matter. Like, I just have gotten to the point where some things just don't matter to me. They're not a value. Like, I love that you said that point. Not only are decisions easier when we look at your values, but you have to know what you value. You have to know. And for us, like we want our values to be based off the Bible. We want them to be based off of biblical worldview. But do you know them? Do you know what you and your husband and your family, what you want your family to value? Because again, back to teaching our kids, it's up to us as the parents to teach them values. And they're not going to just know them, but even do you know them? And that was something I didn't even really think about as a young mom either. It was like, oh, we have to have like, not we have to, but it's like, it's really good to have like a mission statement or what your family's going to stand for and just the values that you want to really pay attention to, because like you said, it makes the decision making so much easier. It makes life easier when you know what path you're on together. So many good things you just said in there. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this book to get out there and for moms. And I love that you're just taking courage and saying, hey, I want this out now. I don't want to wait anymore. Back to the title, like, let's choose less. We live in a world where everything is more, more, more. And even in the parenting, like we think of that as society in a whole, but even in the parenting world, we're always pushing our kids to do more and like told to push our kids to do more and get in more sports and more activities. And then even as us as adults and parents, we're like, you should be doing more for your kids and you should be having more. And it's overwhelming.
Yeah, it really is. And it's interesting because at the very end of the book, what I say is, in a world that asks you to be more, do more, and buy more, let's choose less together.
Yeah.
Because it really is an active decision to go against the grain when it comes to some of these things. We are bombarded with should do's, should buys, and we don't have to do all of that, but we feel obligated to do it because, like, when you were going to Disney and someone's like, well, don't you have the coordinating outfits? You're like, no, I don't have to. Like, that's something that people think you should do when you go to Disney with kids. And it might be really cute and fun, but it's not a necessary part of it. And we have adapted this idea that there are so many extras that have become part of the essentials of parenting, and they're just not. They're not. And so I'm hopeful that maybe I can encourage some people just to take a deeper look at some of those things, right? Like what we talked about in the last episode, right? With gifts and being able to look at the amount of gifts that you give your child for a holiday and say, well, I can give them less. I can choose to do less, and it's still going to be a lovely holiday, and see what comes from it.
Oh, I've heard you say we are choosing less, we're doing less actually so that we can have more. And what do
Yes.
you mean by that? What is the more that we're getting?
Okay, so when you say no, someone framed it to me one time as a smiling no. When you stack up your smiling no's, what you're doing is you're actually turning and saying yes to the things that are most important to you. So when you're able to say no to the things that are just extra and over the top and not really necessary and not adding a lot of value to your family's life, it helps you be able to have more time or energy or the ability to choose the things that you want to do more of. And a good
Yeah.
example would be like kids sports, because I think that I actually saw a video recently about how rec leagues are just struggling in the United States right now, like kids rec sports, because kids go from like the initial training on a sports team to like the challenge team all of a sudden. And then you're traveling to all of these states and you've got to pay, $60,000 in soccer fees, and you're flying to Kansas for a random trip, for one soccer game in the middle of a, month, and it accumulates. And so when you can say, do we like soccer? Yes. But do we need to be on a travel soccer team that costs our family so much money that we need to take out a second mortgage on our house to be able to pay for it? Maybe not. And so you can kind of make decisions through these portals and see where things are adding or taking away value in your life as a family.
Yes, I love that. I am in a town in an area where we are all about sports. And so that was such a good analogy and example because yeah, and my husband, he did all the travel sports and they spent weekends doing all of this and what you would say is like a lot and more, so much to where it actually affected him to he's like, okay, let's do less with my kids. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually like, should we get this kid in a sport yet? I mean, is it time? I feel like, and he's like, I don't, just because of how he saw it play out in his life, it goes against the grain. And it's
Oh,
like,
100%.
yeah.
Have you read the book Family Unfriendly by Tim Carney?
No, I feel like you mentioned that before, though.
I think you might enjoy it. I think it's an interesting book. So
You
he
did.
talked about this particular topic in the book. And one of the things that he was talking about when it comes to kids' sports is that by the time that kids reach that like prime athletic level of like high school and into college, some of them are so burned out physically or mentally that they don't have the capacity to continue with that sport. So what's happening is like, because we're working so hard in the younger years to get them to be advanced for their teenage years and to get into college and to be a successful athlete, that we're burning them out and we're doing the opposite of what we're actually trying to
Yeah.
accomplish. And
Yeah.
and so sports are great. I think sports are fabulous. I'm a huge fan of, kids getting out and playing soccer in the backyard and all that kind of stuff. I think that there's just a huge difference in the level and the
Yeah.
commitment, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we can play soccer together as a family on a weekend, and that doesn't require a travel team and a flight
Yeah.
and a lot of money.
Yeah.
So again, back to it. It's just identifying how much is enough when it comes to some of these decisions. Another
Yeah.
one for us was birthday parties. I think we've talked about this before, but birthday parties for us were a huge uncomfortable thing for us, because if somebody invites us to a birthday party on a Sunday, it's an automatic no in our family. And I feel so guilty every time we do it. For whatever reason in our area, we get a ton of invites for birthday parties on Sundays, but Sundays are forgotten for family. They're not for going to an indoor bounce house with all of our friends. We can do that on a Saturday, or we could do it on a Friday afternoon. But for us, that's an automatic no. And that's been a huge difference for us, because we've eliminated opportunities for our kids to be able to spend time with other kids.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard to do. But also it's the right thing to do, because we're showing our kids that Sundays are forgotten for family. You got to
Yeah.
stick to your guns on it. It is not
Yeah.
easy.
No, it's not easy to do those things. Okay. So it's not easy. We know these things are hard, but we know that It creates more meaningful moments with our family. It creates lasting memories. We are able to do more and be more when we have less. So a mom listening is totally bought in, but she's a little overwhelmed. What's the first small, bold step that a mom can take today to embrace less?
I think you could say no to one thing. Just
Okay.
say no to one thing. Even if it's, can I have another snack? No. Or there's this sale. Do you want to buy this skirt? No. Just say no. That's it. You just have to say it once. And you get into practice of it. And then you can identify what it is that you want to say no to more. And it can grow over time and you can get better at it. But yeah, just start with one
That's
no.
good. That's really good. I love that. I do think to moms that are very busy and claimed as stressed out and all the things, that is what they say to me. I say yes too often. I say yes to everything. I'm always telling people yes. And it's like so simple. Try saying no.
Yeah. What's the worst
Just
that
try saying
happens?
no.
What's the worst, right? You say no to an invitation and you say it nicely, right? You're not rude about it. You're like, no, I'm so sorry. Like we can't put any more on our calendar this week. And it's like, okay, let's try again another time. Like it'll be okay. It'll be okay. But we just feel so afraid to say no right now.
Yeah, it's the people pleasing. You don't want to disappoint anyone. So that comes down to people pleasing. Well, why do you want to please everyone? It comes down to the layers. You have to get into your beliefs. Why am I saying these things and thinking these things? Well, it's under all the layers that are connected in your neuron pathways. And you got to get to your belief system. So that's a powerful exercise to even think, I don't want to say no. Why don't I want to say no? Okay, well, because of this. And, it can lead you through a lot of good exercise, reflection, self-awareness. So good. No, it's powerful. Okay, we got to wrap this up. We could talk for a long time, like always, but wrap this up. Tell us where we can find your book and when.
Oh, okay. So it should be out within the next couple of weeks. I'll share a link on my website, which is yourpurposefulparenting.com. And I also will share information on my Instagram, which is at purposeful__parenting. It will be hopefully where you can buy your books. So even on Amazon, and I will be sure to have all the links up and ready when they are available.
Yay. Okay. Well, that's awesome. Super excited again for people to get this book out. Thank you so much, Jenna, for writing
Thank
it.
you. Oh, thanks for
Thank
having me on
you
today.
for taking that courage and obeying God. Obedience precedes the miracle. So it's coming. Thanks for being here. Hey, Wellness Warrior. I pray that blessed you. And if so, it would bless me big if you would write a 5-star review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Not only would this make me super happy, but it will allow for others to find this show too. Also, I love to chat over on Instagram, so make sure to take a screenshot, share to your Instagram stories, and tag me at the Shan so I can see it and we can keep chatting and bring other moms to chat with us. Until we get to chat again, mama friend, may the Lord's face shine upon you and give you peace.